Man, what a ton of fun at the range with the Sig Sauer P320 AXG Legion. Before we get on to the table here and dig a little bit more into some of the features, just wanted to take a minute to say, make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe. Also, make sure you go over and check out our website at gsquaredtactical.com. It costs a ton of money and time to buy the ammunition, the software, editing, everything else that goes into making these videos. I own an HVAC business, so this is just a side hobby for me. So it's very, very encouraging to know that someone will not just click on our video and watch it, but also will take the time to go over to our website and just buy $20, $30, $10 worth of gear. It doesn't make us a ton of money, but it's very, very encouraging. And also try to remember that I do not watch other people's reviews on YouTube about a gun that I personally am getting ready to review. And I don't do that because I know that even if it's just subconsciously, it's going to affect my review of the gun. And that's just not fair, because I would hope that you clicked on this video to see what my experience was, what G Squared's experience was. I would hope that would be the reason you clicked on the video, and that's what you'll get. You'll get my experience. So in the comments, be polite, be respectful. Just because my experience was not your experience doesn't mean that discredits mine, nor does it discredit your experience. It is just that, my experience. So everything that you see in the video is not regurgitated from other YouTube channels. It is my experience, and it is the truth, and I hope you enjoy. So let's dig into this a little bit. And here she is, the Sig Sauer P320 AXG Legion. If you're familiar with the platform, probably one of the first things that you'll notice is the overall length of the slide being at 7.5 inches. And the reason for that is because of this 2-port expansion chamber that's beyond the barrel compensator that is supposed to aid in shootability, I'm going to call it. Supposed to eliminate some of the muzzle rise, stay on target better, just overall improve the performance of the gun. We will talk a little bit later in the video about what my thoughts are on that. So we'll start at the bottom here, where you will see that it does come with a flared mag well. And if you're looking for a channel where some cock diesel tatted up sweaty dude's crawling around on the ground trying to time himself and how fast he can reload his magazines, you better leave, because that's not going to happen here, because this is 21 plus 1, 22 rounds. I'm not going to carry an extra magazine with me in a defensive application. If I can't get the job done with 22, I'm probably in trouble anyway. But also, I buy these guns, they are not free. And so I'm not going to intentionally beat the piss out of the bottom of my gun trying to reload as fast as I can. But if that is you, it is there and it will serve that purpose. But for me, it also serves a very beneficial purpose, other than the fact that it's very aesthetically pleasing on the gun. It also aids in me keeping my grip high and tight. As you can see, the bottom of the palm, bottom of my pinky there rides perfectly on the bottom of that, and so therefore it helps keep my grip high and tight on the gun. And in doing so, if it were to get sweaty, wet, whatever, it would keep my grip from sliding off. So it is functional for me as well. And if you are one that likes to reload, I'm just taking some jabs at you, but to see how fast you can reload your magazines, it's there for that too. On the back here, I'm going to call this a honeycomb texturing on the back. I don't know if it has a particular name for it, but it looks honeycomb-ish to me. It's very well done, very aesthetically pleasing, and it's definitely not overly aggressive. You know, if you've watched the channel very often, that I get eczema real bad on my hands, especially in the wintertime months, and so having a very aggressive grip is not something that I particularly care for. These Hogue gray Legion engraved grips, G10 style grips here, very, very well done, very thin, look very good on the gun, but also not overly aggressive. Also has nice stippling on the front that is just in the right spot. Smooth towards the bottom at the mag well, smooth up here at the undercut trigger guard, very flattened out, very nicely undercut, feels very, very good in the hand. And I don't say that much about guns because I don't get into this whole, it feels great in the hand, like, so, but it is nicely undercut on the trigger guard, or under the trigger guard there. I don't use gloves when I shoot, but it is a nice squared off trigger guard, so I don't think if you did use guns you'd have any problems getting in and out of there. The mag release is not ambi. It does seem to be swappable. It does not seem to be extended, but I can easily manipulate the mag release without adjusting my grip on the gun. And if you've watched the channel very often, you know I'm a little bit of a snob about that. So that's good. I do like the mag release on the gun. The only thing that I've added to it is this gas pedal. Now, I've had those to tell me how stupid that is, that it's a novelty, it's a snag point, all this other stuff. But I'm not carrying a nearly 3-pound gun on my person anyway, so maybe it is a snag point, but for me it is very functional in that even if I were using it in a defensive application, and definitely at the range, it helps me to keep my grip tight, a good memory pad if you will, remembering to keep the good tight opposable thumb grip. But the biggest thing for me, and my wife said the same thing, is that it keeps my thumb off of this very hot slide, because we are subject to putting 600-800 rounds through a gun, and this slide gets super, super hot. And so it keeps my thumb and my thumb print intact from getting melted off from a hot slide. So it's very functional for me. If you've never given them a thought, give them a thought. They are a very nice addition to your Sig Sauer firearm. It does have a 1913 3-slot rail here for your accessories, anything you might want to add to the gun. And I had my Surefire, my OG Surefire X300 Ultra on here, and a dime. That's right, don't say you didn't learn anything from G Squared today, but a dime works perfectly to take that screw on and off and really torque it down. And I know that I've talked smack about some Sig finishes in the past, how you can hear a Sig rusting on a quiet night and all this other stuff, but I really do torque my lights pretty good onto the gun, and typically it will take a little bit of the finish, a little bit of the meat, if you will, off of the gun. And I've took this light on and off quite a few times, and it does not seem to have done that so far on this one. So maybe the finish is better on the Legion, but I've not had great success with the finishes on some of the other Sig pistols. So anyway, moving on up, at the top of the slide you will see the Legion symbol engraved into the top of the slide. You will find the standard front and rear serrations that you are accustomed to on the 320 lineup. Very, very functional and usable. It does have the 3-dot day-night sights from Sig. They are the low profile, so they will not co-witness if you put anything other than the Romeo X Pro Pro up here. Sorry about that. Go over and watch some of our videos on this new optic. We've not had great success with it. This one has a few surface scratches, but nothing too crazy. So far it's worked out fine. But this is the only optic that I believe, it could be another one, but the only one that I know of that will co-witness with these factory irons. But if you can take these off and afford to put you some raised sights on here, I would say go ahead and do that and buy yourself a plate and put the Trijicon RMR or something up here, or the Sig Romeo 1 Pro. I mean, you don't need a plate for that, but you will need some higher sights on there. But as of right now, this Romeo X Pro does look pretty sexy on here, and I hope it continues to work for me. I really, really do. So, but it is the Delta Point Pro footprint. You can flush mount obviously the Romeo X Pro and also the Romeo 1 Pro, and maybe the 2 as well, I'm not sure. But it will flush mount on here. Anything else, you're going to need a plate and some higher sights. Carbon steel on the barrel material, and stainless steel slide with obviously the Legion Sierra coat over top of that. And so everybody wants to always talk, why do I have to talk about the trigger? I have no idea why I have to talk about the trigger, but apparently I do. Let's talk about some of the other stuff before that, because I'm really not a trigger snob, so I don't really like talking about the trigger that much, because it makes it sound like you're either giving it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and you're going to ruffle feathers either way. But the overall length, of course, including the beaver tail here, is 8.2 inches. Overall width is a mere 1.6. The height is 5.5. The barrel length is 3.9. The weight on this unloaded without an optic and without the gas pedal is 36.1 ounces. So by the time you got your optic up here, your gas pedal, your flashlight, and 22 rounds of ammunition, man, this thing could be pushing 3 pounds. But either way, the sight radius is 5.9. And let's see if there's anything else we want to steal off the website here. I believe that's it. There's that skeletonized flat trigger. Okay, let's talk about the trigger. So my buddy at the gun store, Keenan, his last name is spelled Gilliam, Gilliam. He's also on YouTube, and go over and check out his channel. He's got some good, honest reviews over there. But I mentioned to him how that I was not a fan of the 320 trigger, and his response was, well, you really don't notice it at the range. I said, yeah, you know, maybe you're right. But as you can see here, this one time I did notice it at the range. I kind of took that death dip, as some people call it, because the reset is not that short. It's just not. It's not a good reset at all. But again, I'm not a trigger snob. So the trigger, you know, it does have a good bit of take up actually. It hits a wall and it has a rolling break, so it's not super predictable. The reset is not short at all, although it is very tactile and very audible. So, but it's not short. So if you shoot a lot of guns like the Canik, even some CZs with a very, very short reset, and that's what you're used to, then you're not going to be satisfied with this. It is a modular gun, just like the rest of the 320s. The trigger group will come right up out of there. And, you know, I've never changed the trigger on a Sig. I don't know, but I think if I were to put a trigger in here that had a better reset, a more predictable break, probably be one of the best, if not right up there with one of the best guns I've ever owned. But the trigger is subpar. But again, train around it. Don't be a snob. Get used to it. The trigger will be fine. No problems at all with that. It did perform. We had no issues whatsoever. And I left the range wondering, and I asked my wife, like, did I shoot better with the TTI? Did I shoot, because we just did a 1,000-round follow-up on that, and it done very, very well. We've not had a single issue with that gun. I know that some have. Did I shoot better with my budget CZ P10F? Because man, what a great shooter that thing was. And my AXG Pro. Well, I could not remember. So I do plan to take all 4 of those out, do a side-by-side in one sitting, and really ruffle some feathers with that one. So stay tuned for that. But I know on the Sig X10 Compact, that's a mouthful, that the expansion chamber at the end of that gun turned that thing into a super controllable 10mm, and probably the most controllable polymer frame 10mm I have ever personally had. So I think it probably does work. It's just that I shoot so much, 6,000-7,000 rounds sometimes in a month, that I just don't pay attention. I'm not sensitive to the small things, but I think my wife is. When she was done shooting this gun, she simply said this:
I like it.
I like it, with a big old smile. I don't know that she's ever voluntarily said that after shooting a gun, but she did about this one. She was very accurate with it, stayed right on target. So my guess would be that it does function as it should and makes this a very controllable gun. But the gun has so much weight on it, it's so well balanced, and you're only shooting a 9mm. I don't know how much more it could do to keep the recoil at bay. But apparently for her, it was doing something, because she was lights out with this thing. Really enjoyed it out at the range. But stay tuned. I do plan to get those 4 guns out to the range and do a side-by-side shooting comparison of those guns. But man, what a ton of fun out at the range. The MSRP on this is $15.29. I paid $11.99. I'm sure there's going to be someone that, man, you got took to the cleaners. I bought that online for $2, because they always do. But it was a birthday gift. I feel like $11.99 was a very good price for this firearm. I don't regret it at all. It was a birthday gift for me, and I think maybe my wife might actually like it more than me. She said, do they have a smaller one of these? I said, well, baby, if it's smaller, it ain't going to shoot it as good as this one. She said, oh, okay. But either way, just a fantastic build here. Just a ton of fun at the range. Super, super accurate and reliable. Stay tuned. Jury's still out on the Romeo X optic here. But either way, make sure you go over, check out our website, pick up some gear, gsquaredtactical.com. Make sure you tell all your friends and family where they can find the best blue collar gun reviews on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe. Thanks so much again for watching, and God bless.